Hey, what's going on? June 3rd today. We only have a few more days of school left. For this class, I want to talk a little bit more about the First Amendment from the Constitution. Remember, that's the big one. It's like it gives you a lot of rights. And the one that I want to talk about today is the freedom of speech. So, as Americans, we can say pretty much what we want. Um, Say if I was a business owner, right? Like, if I want, I, what I'd say I have a donut shop. Okay, I have a donut shop somewhere in Lewiston. I like donuts, so let's pretend I have a donut shop. Let's also pretend I wanted to fly the Confederate flag. I don't, but let's pretend I wanted to. Like my First Amendment right, it allows me to do that. Like I can fly the Confederate flag proudly in front of my store. That's my right. But there are consequences. So it doesn't happen in like a vacuum where, the one thing is separate from the other. Like, and this, I'm just taking this because this happened in northern Maine. There was like a gas station that chose to wave the Confederate flag. So there might be some customers that really, oh yeah, Confederate flag, good choice. I'm going to go buy your donuts. But there are probably going to be many more that like, I don't think so. I'll just go to Holy Donut instead. So I have, as a business owner, as an American, I have the right to fly that flag, but it might cost me customers. It might hurt me in the long run. So oftentimes we have the freedom to say whatever we want. That doesn't mean it won't impact us in some way. So in today's story, we're going to talk about a high school student who was upset with a decision made by a sports team. And so she lashed out on social media. I think she made them some threatening statements, some rude gestures, and well, we'll see what happens here. But that's just part of, let me share. I don't think I shared this. That would be awful if I read this without sharing it. So, student perspectives. This is from a student's point of view. First Amendment's rights in school. So you can see that she has her cell phone. There are a lot of different opinions. So we're going to have a couple different sides to this. But the question here is, should public schools be able to punish students for what they say on social media when they're off campus? Students weigh in. Now, I'm sure, every year it happens. Every year there's like some fight, right? That happens off campus and people are recording it with their phones. Oh my gosh, look at this. Look at this. Now, can schools do anything about that? I don't know. In some cases they have, but like legally, the police can do something about it. It's like it's assault, and that often happens. That there will be like it's on video. Like there's some pretty good evidence right there. So will the schools take care of that? Sometimes no. It's usually up to the police. Again, these things don't happen in a vacuum. Just because you caught it on video and put it on TikTok or whatever, Snapchat. Probably not Facebook. That's my generation, but there are going to be consequences. So it happens every year, but and it's right there for everyone to see because you captured it on video. So it says this article doesn't have any reading comprehension quiz. That's okay because we're not going to take a quiz. We're just going to read today. In 2017, Brandy Levy, or maybe pronounced Levy, was a 14-year-old student. She had just learned that she would have to stay on her high school's junior varsity cheerleading team for another year. So maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but there's like something called JV in high school, and then there's something called varsity. So varsity is like not the junior, it's the big time. Levy, or Levy, however you want, Levy was disappointed. So while at a store with her friend, so she's not on campus, she posted on Snapchat. She used a profane word in her post. Oh no, maybe the F word. Maybe. Let's pretend it is. She and her friend also made a rude gesture. Probably the middle finger, I'm thinking. Probably. The cheerleading team's coaches found out about the post. They suspended Levy from the team for a year. Levy's parents were upset. They felt their daughter's right to free speech had been taken away. I mean, she had the right. She did it, right? The Snapchat didn't take it down. She had that. She had the right. Just there are consequences. They filed a lawsuit with federal courts. The case has now gone to the U.S. Supreme Court. The justices are deciding whether public schools can punish students for things they say off campus. So there is that. If anybody wants to read more about it, I will share that link with you. But you can click here to read more about the case. But this is we're going right to the source. We're going to hear it right from the horse's mouth, as they say. So we're going to get the students' thoughts on this. We asked students to tell us what they thought about the case. Students feel very strongly about this free speech issue. Many students around the world use social media to express themselves, wrote one student, Hazel A. No last name attached. Age 14. Social media should be considered a part of their free speech. Nearly 60 students wrote in to share their thoughts. We're grateful to everyone who shared their thoughts and opinions. Below are some selected examples. So before we go on to that, I do just want to warn you, like in the real world, like once you leave high school, let's say you're working at Taco Bell. I like Taco Bell. Taco Bell is pretty good. But these glasses are never easy to take off. If you're watching the English one, I had the same trouble taking off my glasses. But I want to talk to the camera now. If you're working at Taco Bell and you post something on social media, maybe it goes viral. A bunch of customers, hey, this is what your company represents, whatever. I mean, it's possible you could lose your job for that. It's possible because they don't want, a tarnished like image. Taco Bell, they don't want to hire people that are, trying to think of something. If you were saying like hate speech or something, that's a different category. But yeah, and lying too, like if you say, hey, they're using like just some kind of awful meat in their tacos, well then that's lying, that's defamation, that's legally you can't do that. You can't tell lies about people. They might call it slander or something. But let's just saying you're expressing your opinion. Or how about like for you applying to colleges maybe. So you might have every right to say that about your cheerleading coaches or whatever. But students colleges will look at your social media. They will. Like, before we accept this person, like we want to make sure they meet our high standards. I mean, if it's any kind of good school, they will. They'll be looking a job before you get hired. Like, what? This person's like, this is the way they talk on social media. That's not a good representation. So certainly it could impact you before you get into college. It could impact you before you get a job. Once you get a job, it can be, there are certain rights you have as an employer, but also like if I was, if I was a teacher, I am, and my TikTok was just full of like tirades and middle fingers and F bombs, and parents got a hold of that, I'm sure they would march up to the principal. Some of them like, this person's teaching our children. Is that, you know, just teachers are held to a different standard too. So the things that I do outside of school, it can impact my job. So just be aware of that. Even if this court case goes through, like, hey, yes, students, you can say what you want. There are consequences. There are consequences. You may not get into that school that you want, or you may not get that job that you want. So just tread lightly. Tread lightly. I don't know, it's tough navigating social media. I've been doing a little research on it. I won't bore you with I think I mentioned it before, but it's tough, man. Like you guys are living like the first generation that has had to deal with social media on such a level it's not healthy, that's for sure. Mental health for people your age, guess what? It's not as good as it was like 20 years ago. What's the difference? Probably social media. Probably social media. We talked about that during the Cold War thing. So let's get back to some of this article here and hear what other students would say. Mm, right here. Students say teens need a space to speak out. Without our freedom of speech, we might still have slavery or Jim Crow laws. Whoa, they went there. I mean, that's true. There's no question. But comparing slavery to a cheerleading team, I yeah, I'll throw in my opinion here quite a bit. I don't think it's quite the same. We might say it's apples and oranges. Without the ability to say and do things outside of campus, students have no free will to choose something different from the popular opinion. Public schools, which are government regulated, should have no ability to peer into what students are doing in their personal time. It can only make our society even more one minded and bland. I mean, definitely some truth there for sure. That, you know, w- what you do on social media, might not be the care of schools. Maybe it's more the care of parents, right? So, valid point there by Carson B. Cardi B. Wait, what? Carson B, age 15. Many students use social media as a platform to advocate for the political, social, and religious issues they are passionate about. Students have the right to share, post, and express their feelings. It's important for students to speak up on all issues, even controversial ones. That's Mariah R., age 15. I mean, again, she's it's hard to argue with what a lot of these students are saying here. Now, this is really strong evidence. If you can bring in the past Supreme Court cases, that's pretty big because a lot of our laws, they're either rightful laws, they're either constitutional, they're backed up by the Constitution, or they're not. So that's where that other, all three branches of we're going right back to the beginning of school, three branches of our government: executive, legislative, and judicial, all are equal, and Supreme Court cases have a lot of weight. If the Supreme Court has weighed in on an issue, then like that's the final step. They can say that this law is not constitutional or it is. So a lot of the major decisions in our country in recent years, abortion, it's backed up by a Supreme Court case. Um, Segregation, saying that that's wrong, it's backed up by a Supreme Court case. So adding Supreme Court cases to your argument is really heavy. It's hard to argue. Tinker vs. Des Moines shows that preventing students from expressing ideas is unconstitutional. If schools had the ability to limit what students are allowed to post on social media, that would be infringing on their First Amendment rights. This is Emil K., age 13. According to the Tinker vs. Des Moines decision, schools cannot limit students' freedom of speech. Honestly, these laws should be updated to fit cases like these that involve social media. And for a while, it might have been like before you all were in school, but there was this gap between bullying, like face to face, and then cyberbullying. So there was a little bit of a gap where, like, well, if it happens online, does it still count? That's been changing over the last couple of years, and so maybe something like this with social media will be changing as well. Okay, we will finish this article tomorrow. We're getting on about 15 minutes here, so I don't want to do one thing too long in this class. I mean, you may be bored already. I hope you're not. But if we do, anything for too long, like 20 minutes is usually, like, a good teacher should know that. Like 20 minutes doing one thing, it's like that's too long. Should break it up. So we're going to break it up today, and then tomorrow we'll finish the old Tinker versus Des Moines versus Snapchat versus was Cardi B. Cardi B weighed in on that. No, I don't think it was Cardi B.